well, on the bright side, at least we know which comic Vision's follow-up series is going to be based on. Readers, Marvel Studios' first Disney Plus series, WandaVision, is officially over. And with it, a lot of things fans have been wanting to see from her since her introduction in Age of Ultron. She's finally being referred to by her superhero name, Scarlet Witch. She's in a more comic-accurate costume than the one she wore before. And everything we thought the show might have told us about the multiverse has once again been a complete lie. On the other hand, if you're anything like me, you can't be disappointed in the red herrings the show dropped your way if you never believed them to begin with. However, that's not to say that Marvel head Kevin Feige lied about how the show is going to tie in with the greater MCU, or even Wanda's involvement in the upcoming sequel film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the only movie in Phase 4 that I'm actually convinced will involve experimenting with the multiverse. And it's two scenes in the WandaVision finale in particular that have me convinced. The first being after Wanda fully accepts her role as the Scarlet Witch, and we both hear and see Agatha Harkness do her "What have you done?" line.
Oh God, you don't know what you've done.
Now, while this line is a bit cryptic, those of us who have any experience with storytelling when it comes to either someone accepting a certain mantle or awakening an extraordinary amount of power probably translated this as, now that Wanda is officially a Scarlet Witch, she has attracted the attention of something bigger out there, which is pretty much always a safe bet. And considering the next time we see Scarlet Witch on screen is the Doctor Strange sequel, the second scene in question kind of plays into that trope if you really pay attention. I'm of course talking about the after credits scene of the series finale, where in the midst of her studying from Agatha's grimoire, she hears her twins, Billy and Tommy, somewhere in dimensions unknown, crying out to her for help. Now, I personally found this choice in after credits scenes very interesting, considering the previous fact of Multiverse of Madness. While it's obvious that with aging up Scott Lang's daughter in Endgame, introducing Billy and Tommy pre-Wiccan and Speed in WandaVision, possibly introducing Teddy Altman in the upcoming Secret Invasion series, using Multiverse of Madness to introduce America Chavez because of her multiverse portal powers, and even introducing Kate Bishop in the upcoming Hawkeye series, part of the current agenda at Marvel Studios is that they want to introduce the Young Avengers. But because of how WandaVision ended, there needs to be an event set in place that will allow the two characters to not only return, but to be living, breathing, physical human beings within the physical plane without having to rely on Wanda's magic to keep them existing. And it's looking like we're going to see that play out in Multiverse of Madness, not with Wanda being the villain of the movie like everyone assumed she was going to be, but with Wanda going to Stephen to not only train, but to ask for his help in finding her children. The thing is, Agatha's concern at the end of WandaVision claiming the mantle of Scarlet Witch was definitely genuine.
You have no idea what you've unleashed. You're gonna need me.
And her claiming it, alerting a greater magical evil of her presence, kinda like the Darkness Awakening when the Traveler did at the end of the Vanilla Destiny 2 campaign if you play that video game, is also something I can definitely see happening. So while Billy and Tommy crying out for Wanda's help may be real, what if the actual villain of Multiverse of Madness, this greater evil, now aware that a Scarlet Witch once more walks the earth, found the twins and is using them as bait? Well, readers, Not only do I think that's the case, but considering everyone currently cast in it, and even how the title of the movie was initially inspired, not only do I think I know who's the big bad of Multiverse of Madness is, but I think I also know what the plot of the movie is. Now then, before I start, I must first address the girls and the gays. Hi there, my fellow queers. It is I, the most pragmatic bi. Now, as much as we love Wanda and how far she's come in dealing with her trauma, you know, outside of torturing an entire town against their will in order to do it, we have to accept that this is, first and foremost, a Doctor Strange movie. And that it's being directed, first and foremost, by a Doctor Strange fan. That means, while the motivation to save Wiccan and Speed from whatever magical reality they're trapped in is definitely enough for her to seek out Strange's help in retrieving them, the villain responsible is more than likely associated with Doctor Strange than with Scarlet Witch. With that being said, as much as I love Chiwetel Ejiofor, I don't think it's Baron Mordo at all. Like, he's definitely in it, and he's definitely going to be a bad guy in it. He said so himself that he's excited to see what Sam Raimi has up his sleeve for the film. But I don't think he's gonna be the one responsible for all of the string pulling in the movie. I actually think he's going to be one of the strings. Because readers, I think it's Shumagorath. Now believe me, at first I was just on board the nightmare train as everyone else. He rules the dream dimension, and since Wiccan and Speed only exists in her mind as far as Wanda knows by the time WandaVision is over, he wants to use the memory of her children to, I don't know, lure her to his realm and siphon her chaos magic to free himself, or, you know, something similar. But then, in order to get a better understanding of how the movie is going to operate, especially after knowing that WandaVision ends with Wanda fully embracing her title of Scarlet Witch, I did a little digging. I decided to check the cast list on IMDb to see if anyone who was already announced for Multiverse of Madness fit the bill of any of Steven's villains that would want to utilize Wanda's abilities. And what I found was a very useful bit of trivia about how the sequel was named. It reads, and I quote, "The film's title is a play on the title of the John Carpenter film In the Mouth of Madness, 1994. which itself is a play on the title of H.P. Lovecraft's novella At the Mountains of Madness, published in 1936. End quote. And while Lovecraft didn't create Shumagorath specifically, his actual creator, Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan the Barbarian, initially wrote him to be part of Lovecraft's Great Old One pantheon in the expanded Cthulhu mythos story, The Curse of the Golden Skull, before being fully developed into a character for Marvel Comics as a member of the Great Old Ones, the many-angled ones if you're nasty, and one of the Lords of Chaos. Now then, if I'm right about my Marvel vs. Capcom 3 main being the villain here, this could go one of many ways, especially if we take into consideration the stories that the movie is named after, John Carpenter's The Mouth of Madness and Lovecraft's At the Mountain of Madness. 1994's In the Mouth of Madness stars Sam Neill, aka Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park, and in it, his character John Trent is investigating the disappearance of a famous horror writer hired by his publishing company to find him and turn his last novel In the Mouth of Madness. Over the course of the movie, he discovers that the author's book series acts as a gateway to free a cosmic race of monsters that not only drives its readers insane, but that publishing the final installment will basically bring an end to humanity. And while the Lovecraft novella it's named after isn't an adaptation of it, At the Mountain of Madness is a recollection tale of a few explorers in Antarctica, warning people to stay away from the ruins of an ancient civilization of extraterrestrial life forms within the Cthulhu mythos that they stumbled upon, called the Elder Things, and their blob-like servants, the Shoggoths. It even hints at a greater evil entity called Yog-Sothoth within a larger mountain than the one that they initially explored. And that entity, according to the Cthulhu mythos, shares boundaries with all of time and space, but is simultaneously locked out of our understanding of the universe. Sounds very familiar to my boy Shuma, if you ask me. So, not only do I think the main villain of the movie is Shuma-Gorath, but considering what the end credits scene of WandaVision teased about it, who all is in it, and the properties that provided the inspiration for its name, I think I know what's actually going to happen in the movie. Shuma-Gorath is going to be in the place of Yog-Sothoth, the greater evil entity hinted at near the end of At the Mountain of Madness in this case, an ancient lord of chaos that's locked outside of our universe that, thanks to releasing such a strong amount of chaos magic from the WandaVision finale, has been made aware of the existence of a Scarlet Witch strong enough to let him in. Baron Mordo is going to act as the living conduit for Gorath, the author of In the Mouth of Madness, if you will, with the intention of freeing Shuma-Gorath by either suffering from the being's mind control because, you know, easy trope is easy, or going insane enough to believe that releasing him will help him achieve his goal of ridding the world of sorcerers. And then you have our heroes. Stephen Strange taking the form of the usual investigative protagonist of every Lovecraftian-themed story trying to stop the threat. Wanda as the one being manipulated into doing exactly what the cosmic entity wants, thanks to her otherworldly abilities and emotional connections to her children. And America Chavez as their way of transporting outside of the known universe, and risking their sanity in the process, while also unknowingly at the end of the adventure when they reach their destination, hand-delivering Shuma-Gorath's prize that is Wanda to him personally. Now, unfortunately, I have the bad luck of all of my favorite Marvel superheroes and their associated characters not being depicted the way I would like them to be in the MCU, and Doctor Strange is no exception. So even if Shuma-Gorath is the villain in Multiverse of Madness, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to disrespect him like Taika Waititi disrespected Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, or even make it so that he is the lackey for someone like, I don't know, Chthon, one of Scarlet Witch's villains, and basically the closest thing to Teen Titans Trigon in Marvel Comics, because Marvel Studios constantly gets its rocks off from making me upset. They're like that one cousin your mom makes you visit that you only really tolerate because they had an N64 with Mario Kart and more than one controller, but they always do something to piss you off every time you visit them. So am I expecting to be wrong? Yes. Am I expected to be disappointed? Oh, absolutely. As much as I like to believe that Sam Raimi directing the movie is going to help fix the changes that they made to the first movie's narrative in order to make it fit the Infinity Saga, I doubt that they're going to give him the creative freedom to make this as good as Spider-Man 2. But that won't stop me from hoping. I just won't be surprised if it turns out any differently. But I digress, readers. Your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below who you think might be baiting Wanda during the WandaVision finale that we might see in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Or if you feel like sharing with the rest of the class what you think is going to happen in the Doctor Strange sequel. Regardless of what your answer is, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below, where you can also find a link to my merchandise store. Or if you prefer to give a one-time donation, you can find links to my PayPal and my Ko-fi account in the description box as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.